And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you for making us a part of your day. What's going on, Ben?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, I'm doing better than Jalen Hurts, who apparently sucks.
This is one of the weirder Super Bowl winning season to the next from every player involved, minus finally you saw Saquon get going a little bit last night after having a pretty bad season this year. And then, Jalen Hurts has been mediocre at best.
I love how the quarterback discussions in the NFL are either this guy is the greatest of all time or he should never play again.
How quickly can you replace him?
Because there is some nuance to the position, I'm told. But the answer probably is that the quarterbacks are never as good as we give them credit. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
I would err on that side.
Okay.
Not to defend the adult novelty heiress's boyfriend, but Tom Brady wasn't the only reason that they won all those Super Bowls.
Sure.
In New England.
Sure.
And Bill, for a time, was pretty savvy about making roster moves to keep the stretch going. You know, if they would have overpaid for those star, I don't know, what do you want to call them, role players, all the receivers that they let go, or, even somebody like Teddy Bruschi, who they just let go before their career was over. If he didn't make those savvy decisions, there's no way that run lasts as long as it does. I mean, we're seeing what happened with the Chiefs, for example, and Patrick Mahomes is by no means washed at all, but they paid a bunch of older guys, namely Travis Kelce, who you love and are stars and all this stuff, but are not nearly as productive as they used to be. And he always erred on the side, ironically enough, considering Tom ended up leaving there in his 40s and going somewhere else. But other than Tom, he always erred on the side of, we're going to break it off early and I'm going to go find the next guy.
You're not really rewarded for loyalty in sports generally. And the Patriots mastered that, and the Chiefs are paying the toll for it.
They are, absolutely.
No, they won a bunch of titles, so it's fine.
But my point is, Patrick Mahomes didn't forget how to play football.
Correct. Right. They're not, what, are they 6-7 right now?
It was never as much about.
Walked right into that.
It was never as much about Patrick Mahomes as we pretend that it is, or not pretend, or I guess observe.
Yeah,
because
it's shorthand. Yeah,
yeah, because we say, oh, the quarterback position is pretty important, and then somebody's good at it, and we're going, oh, well, that's the reason they're winning. Joe Flacco gets paid in Baltimore after winning the Super Bowl, and then team is on the fast track to Sucktown because he was never that good. They didn't win that Super Bowl because of Joe Flacco.
Sure. Hard to win without a good quarterback. But having a good quarterback alone, as we can see with the Chargers, though they did win last night, doesn't guarantee you long-term success.
It is hard to win without a good quarterback. But that take is what muddies the waters.
Yeah.
Because then we say, well, you have to have Patrick Mahomes or you're dead in the water.
Right.
Which is not the case. I mean, you could make a better case about that in the NBA than you can in the NFL, where if you don't have Steph Curry or LeBron James, well, you don't even start the season.
If you don't have a top 5 player, your odds of winning anything significant are next to zero.
Yep.
So
I don't know. There's way more nuance to it, certainly in the NFL. And Jalen Hurts was probably never that good. But the Eagles had good coaches. Because they had Kellen Moore last year, who I think is a pretty solid, at least offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You had Kellen Moore last year, and you had Saquon Barkley having a historic season.
Right.
And, as much, if you want to go back, I guess even further, Jason Kelce was an all-pro guy. I mean, you had these really good players that were, not to get off too much of a tangent, Ben, but what's the narrative around Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford and the Rams? That the Rams won a Super Bowl because they moved off of Jared Goff and traded for Matthew Stafford. Which maybe you think Stafford is better than Goff, because he probably is, at least somewhat. But they didn't win the Super Bowl or even go to the Super Bowl when they did go to the Super Bowl with Goff. They didn't win the Super Bowl because of Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff. They won the Super Bowl because of Aaron Donald. If you really have to boil it down to a reason to give credit for it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So we even then put so much credit or give so much credit to the quarterback, and it's like, yeah, it's important, and you have to have a good one, as you said.
And also sometimes the stars just have to align.
It's never because of that.
There's a lot more randomness to it all than we want to admit.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we like to, hot take on the radio guy, like, oh, if you don't have Patrick Mahomes, why are you even playing? Well, obviously this year that's not proving to be true.
Yeah.
And especially in the NFL where it's so hard capped, you have to play the salary cap chess game.
Yep.
And a quarterback isn't good enough on its own to get you there. Look at the mess the Cardinals are in because they paid Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, loyalty is fickle.
I would bet, and if the Niners proved anything in the last few years, I think this is true. I would bet if they would have reasonably paid Kyler Murray, the Cardinals would be at least a playoff team, if not a contender.
Yeah,
because you can give that money to all these different positions.
Yeah, and he's
he's good enough that you could win games with him.
Yep.
Like Joe Flacco was with Baltimore, or Brock Purdy is with the Niners. But the Niners had to pay Purdy, and it's over.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The NFL is crazy. But the quarterback, I think we overrate them is my ultimate point, or give them too much credit.
It's also why it's a fun league. It's why everyone watches it because, yes, the Eagles one year can be in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs can be in the Super Bowl next year. I mean, the Eagles are probably still going to the playoffs, but, there's no guarantee you're going to have success the next season.
No, not at all. All right, Ben, where do you want to start today? There's a bunch of stuff going on in the college football world, specifically.
I think we have to start with the Utes.
With Utah selling out equity to its, not even its athletic department, but kind of its athletic department. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo is reporting the University of Utah Athletics is entering into what could be a $500 million plus equity partnership with Otro Capital, featuring the creation and shared ownership of a for-profit entity to operate athletics.
This is directly from the article at Yahoo. It says the University of Utah is on the cusp of striking the industry's first partnership with an equity firm, which we've heard about this a lot with the Big 12. A couple of years ago was the idea. Big 10 has gotten really close to doing it, and it's gotten close to the finish line, and something always seems to hold it up, whether that's schools or final numbers or whatever it is. But yes, as you mentioned, it's a 9-figure capital infusion and the creation of shared ownership of a for-profit entity to operate athletics business and financial elements outside of the traditional university framework. I think essentially, reading Josh Furlong's tweets, who's at a meeting right now, learning kind of more about it with the president, Taylor Randall at Utah. To me, I mean, it's about keeping Utah, and I'm curious how you read it, among the cans as opposed to the can'ts in college football. And I'm sure when they looked around the Big 12 and they saw what BYU's able to do and what Texas Tech is doing, and recognizing that they probably just don't have the donor base to compete with those year in and year out, maybe on a one-off year, but year in and year out, they had to figure out another creative way to bring a ton of money into their school, and this is how they decided to do it. But it keeps you at least relevant for the time being.
Okay. I mean, I hate everything about this.
Okay.
But
what do you hate about it?
I'm not running University of Utah's athletic department.
I'm skeptical about it. So tell me what you hate about it.
You're first of all, you're creating a for-profit entity, and then second of all, you're selling out. Well, let me put it this way. My wife got student loans when she first started law school, and she was going to school in San Diego. Mm-hmm. She was using that money to support herself while she went to law school.
Right.
She was looking around for an apartment to stay in while in law school and was considering multiple options, one of which, Ben, was an apartment that was a stone's throw away from the baseball stadium, which, if you know where that is in San Diego, I will let you guess whether or not it was affordable or expensive.
Yeah.
And I said to her when she was saying, well, maybe I should do this. And I said to her, you know we're going to have to pay this money back, right? And she said, oh, yeah. And then she got us place in South Park.
Yeah.
So, like, you're cashing out now at what expense? And this is a public university. You're cashing out now. You're cashing out and you're forming a for-profit entity with an equity company. This is far, far away from the mission of any university. So you have to cash out to stay relevant. I guess that's one thing. I don't think this is appropriate. And maybe it's where things are going, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
That's true. I
don't think this is appropriate at all.
I certainly think it's a full recognition that we have completely abandoned, yes, what the mission statement was of college athletics, and that's probably been dead for a while. This is just another shovel full of dirt.
But they didn't have to spearhead it.
No,
Utah
they
didn't have to spearhead it. Utah didn't have to be first. I
do think there is value into being first. It doesn't mean it's more moral, but it does give you some freedom. Because of what I don't think is that every college can do this. I don't think every school can do this. Can every school that was in the top 25 of the college football playoff this year do it, with the exception of James Madison?
What do you mean?
and
Define
Tulane?
Do it. What do you mean?
Get a proposed, I'll be curious how much this number actually ends up being, get a $500 million influx of capital into their athletics department.
Every school can. Every school is not going to get $500 million.
Correct. So they're allowed
but
to.
When Weber State does it, they don't need $500 million.
No, they don't.
I don't. It also infuses a bunch of money into the market. As soon as all these schools start doing it,
Yes.
then that's a little thing called inflation, which we've
talked about. It's the $20 million fund you get before teams get to spend whatever NIL money they want.
You're flush with cash because of the student loan today. Well, what about in 10 years? And so part of me says, listen, if you can't keep up today, then you're gonna have to come to grips with that and not keep up.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the Mountain West era, Utah could not keep up with USC. Well, they couldn't keep up. They didn't. That's the world they lived in. And then you try to punch above your weight and you try to make some headlines and find some diamonds in the rough and all that stuff. But that's where you were in the world. Ben, you're not taking out a loan so you can get into high Salt Lake City society.
Right. I can't afford it. I don't belong there. So me taking out a loan to get there does not actually put me in that group.
So is this intelligent? I don't know. But I certainly think it's inappropriate. And as a state of Utah taxpayer, that money that comes out of taxpayer money to supplement the program, that better end today.
Well, that's not going to happen.
But why not? Why not? You're doing a for-profit entity with your athletic department.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to make money off of this, or else this group wouldn't do it. So you don't get to have your hand out anymore. You're a business. You don't get to have your hand out anymore.
And yet we fund arenas downtown, and we have been funding $1 billion and $500 million operations for sports in general.
They've been providing the Utah Recruiting Fund. Now you're taking money. Now you have enough money. You have $500 million.
I'm not arguing that it's right, but again, I don't think that necessarily means they have to pull out, nor would I expect them to. No, that's just not going to happen. If they have money coming to them from taxpayers, great. They've got money coming to them from taxpayers. They love that. It's more money. And that's what this is about. More from the Yahoo article. This project includes a fascinating wrinkle. The university is offering a prominent group of donors the ability to purchase a stake in Utah brands and entertainment, which is kind of what this whole thing is. Already, university officials have culled a small donor base to generate millions in purchase agreements. So basically what they're saying is donors, instead of just giving us a $10 million check for the next 5 years or whatever it is, you actually get some equity in this company, and ideally you can get your money back. But by giving us money early on, I do think there is a desire to make sure you don't drown right now while there is so much money coming into college athletics. So you're trying to keep your head above water to prove that you are one of the, again, cans. That doesn't mean it's not a guarantee that you have or will, but you can compete versus the people who truly will not be able to compete, the can'ts of the world. And I think Utah is trying to make sure they're staying on the right side of the line of teams that can compete when this thing gets narrowed down to 50 teams, 60 teams, 12 teams, whatever it is. Utah's trying to make sure they're as close to the top as possible.
All right. Find a different way. I don't think this is a good answer. Or you can't do it. I mean, I just don't think that this is a good answer for the reasons that I've laid out. And what happens in 10 years?
No, I'm totally with you. I was against it when the Big Ten was doing it. Are you getting this money just to pay players? Because that goes away. Like, that doesn't guarantee. Now, if you do think that this provides a pathway for you to get into a different league, which is going to keep you flush with cash, if they ever do put this genie back in the bottle and say everyone has an equal distribution and that's the only money you can spend, but Utah, because you spent money and you were winning Big 12 titles or whatever this is designed to generate, that you do get an invite to the party and then you do belong in the society, I guess I could see that, but that's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of, well, we hope this happens. And if it doesn't, then yeah, this feels, I mean, it's a it will feel more like a Hail Mary than maybe it did today.
If they become flush with cash and that scenario pays out, it's not going to the university, it's going to these people. Correct. And these select donors, because it's for profit. These people are going to make their money.
Yes.
So why not just keep what you've got right now and
they feel
not be in the club?
Yeah, because they feel like it's not enough, and not being in the club's not an option. That's honestly, that has to be the fear. Why else would you do this? If you don't feel like you have enough to compete and it's essential that you stay in that club, which again is the haves or the can-dos of college football, they must feel like this is necessary. I would question it as well. I'm skeptical of it, as you mentioned. I do think it's just going to create inflation in college athletics of how much it's going to cost to run a program, because everyone's going to get a boost of this, and then there are schools that are going to get 3 times this in their private equity, whether that's a Texas or whether that's you go down the list, Florida, the biggest schools, Georgia, that want to bring in as much money as they can and actually win national championships. That's not a knock on Utah, but other schools are going to bring in more money. And then, of course, the area where this could affect fans. In the article, it says the new company's primary goal is to generate more revenue across an assortment of areas, including ticketing, concessions, corporate sales, and sponsorships. Meaning it's more expensive to advertise. It's more expensive to take your business there. Popcorn's going to cost more, and your tickets are going to cost more, which is the easiest way to make more money, right? That's where the money directly comes in. So I just say, if you're not going to donate the money to me, I'll just take it out of concessions. That's what it is. I mean, that part of it certainly jumped out at me, my first read through of the article, that's where a lot of this comes from. And it goes right back to the fans. However, the idea is to make sure that, at least they say this, that students aren't getting hit with these fees.
Okay.
Unless you buy concessions, in which case you're getting hit with the fees.
Do you think Crimson Club dues are going to go down?
I don't know. I have no idea I don't know how any of that works.
The answer is no.
No, of course not.
Do you think seat prices are going to go down?
No, they're going to go up.
Do you think your hot dog is going to cost less than $10?
Cost more.
What about that hoodie you want to buy from the bookstore?
More.
Yeah, good luck with all of this. I think it's all gross. I had a buddy who we happened to be sitting at the local watering hole when his student loan cleared in his bank account. Mm-hmm. Bought drinks for the whole bar.
Yeah. I'm done.
Guess what, everyone?
I'm off the hook. As for Utah's partnership, in exchange for upfront cash, which again, I'd be curious how much money they get right off the bat, Otro will earn a large percentage of annual revenues generated from Utah Brands and Entertainment as it splits funds with the university. An exit strategy in 5 to 7 years exists, and the university holds the right to purchase Otro's ownership stake.
Here's the exit strategy. They're going to bleed the athletic department dry and then light a fire for the insurance money after it's over. That's how these sort of schemes work usually. Or
you get addicted to needing this influx of cash, and in 5 years you need another $100 million or whatever 9-figure deal to stay afloat to continue to compete, because the biggest schools in college football have not given you your ticket and patted you on the back and said, congrats, you're one of us. And then, you have to give up a bigger percentage to continue to compete. That's certainly in the cards.
The problem I have with these decisions, too, is that what are the odds that Taylor Randall and Mark Harlan are in their current positions when this decision really comes home to roost?
Nil. Yeah, very low.
Yeah. It's easy to write checks that you're not going to be held accountable for.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a Utah fan and you sit at home and you watch the game from the couch, this is probably a good day for you. Truthfully, if you're not involved in going to games, that's not what you care about, you just want to see your team win, and you don't have to put your money into it, this is probably a good day. Your team's going to be able to compete at a level, at least in the short term, in a better spot than they were going into this last season. They will have more money to play with. What it means long-term, I'm not sure it guarantees long-term success.
All right, stay tuned. Top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number one, there are a lot of rumors and speculation that Notre Dame might be looking for a home in a conference. Could they be fit for the Big 12?
I wrote the headline just, Notre Dame to the Big 12?
Yeah.
I was going to tell Christian to not get ahead of himself. Yesterday's fallout from the playoff, I thought was interesting. It was I followed it all day because I don't know what's the word, Ben. It's a juicy story.
Yeah, it is.
Notre Dame really has their feelings hurt, and they're airing out some laundry. They're mad specifically at the Mouse, and the ACC ended up catching a lot of the wrath of the Notre Dame AD. What's this guy's name? Pete. What is it? Bavacqua?
Yeah, maybe it's Bavacqua.
It's
yeah.
Bavacqua. I think he was anyway. Pete Bavacqua basically said that they've done serious damage to the relationship with Notre Dame. He said, you never say irreparable, but it's opened our eyes and caught our attention. But we'll move past this. We're already focused on next season. Oh, sure you are. But he said he was confused and frustrated. He said the ACC was taking shots. When asked to be specific, he said, quote, we didn't appreciate the fact that we were singled out repeatedly and compared to Miami. Not by Miami. Miami has every right to do that, but it raised a lot of eyebrows here that the conference was taking shots at us. What he's complaining about is a PR campaign by the ACC and ESPN, what they perceive as anti-Notre Dame and pro-Miami. Yeah. Later in the day, Jim Phillips, the commissioner for the ACC, said the University of Notre Dame is an incredibly valued member of the ACC, and there is tremendous respect and appreciation for the entire institution. Ready for the butt, Ben? With that being said, when it comes to football, we have a responsibility to support and advocate for all 17 of our football-playing member institutions, and I stand behind our conference efforts to do just that leading up to the College Football Playoff Committee selections on Sunday.
You're right. This is an extraordinarily juicy story, mostly because of the random perfect storm elements that go into this, which involves Notre Dame being an independent element, essentially, despite their loose tie to the ACC. The fact that Notre Dame is one of the 10 biggest names in college football. The fact that, as you talked about, I thought very astutely yesterday, their deal with NBC kind of does put them on the outside of this conversation because the ACC wants to deal with ESPN. It also is an added wrinkle that the ACC has the worst college football television deal of any conference. Their TV deal is insane, and everybody's stuck in it through 2035 or whatever it is. And then on top of it, for Miami to be the other team going up against Notre Dame, who just happened to play this year in the same season that the ACC was won by a 5-loss Duke team, it had to be so many crazy elements to go into this recipe to get this result, but it has. And that's the type of thing that could spring Notre Dame to leave the ACC and try and look for a new partner if they decided that that was beneficial for them. And I suspect everybody would take them. Maybe you disagree. Certainly the Big 12 would.
Well, okay, we can get to that. The reason I read that last Phillips quote is because that's him admitting that they did it. That's the problem, is that the ACC did it. They did. They actively campaigned against Notre Dame. And if UVA would have just won they wouldn't have this problem because the ACC would have gotten a team in. They would have snubbed Miami, and Notre Dame would have been included. Because part of Notre Dame's beef is that they were ranked ahead of Miami for all these stupid, silly TV shows all leading up to it, and they feel ambushed the fact that they would swap it at the last second. Well, they didn't want to swap it at the last second.
They didn't think they would have to.
They had to swap it at the last second because UVA lost, and the mouse isn't going to cut out the ACC. And that's what happened, and that's why Notre Dame's so mad. I don't feel bad for Notre Dame in the slightest, by the way. I don't. It didn't break your way once. Congratulations. Try being BYU. They got snubbed. They got screwed 2 years in a row. But neither here nor there. If the ACC and the Notre Dame relationship is indeed fractured, Ben, Notre Dame isn't going to the Big Ten because they would have done so by now, and the Big Ten will not take all their sports and not football. That's been their policy since the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen because Notre Dame's not going to join a league in football, so the Big Ten's not going to be their lifeboat.
You think they're going to stay independent?
1,000%.
Okay.
Well, okay, I'll give you an example. Why? Why did the ACC side with Miami and not Notre Dame given their relationship?
Why?
The ACC doesn't see a dime from the payout that Notre Dame gets.
From NBC.
The ACC.
Yeah.
No. From the college football playoff.
Yeah.
The ACC gets Miami's share.
Right. They don't get Notre Dame's share.
They don't get Notre Dame's share.
Operates as an
so why would they side with Notre Dame?
Yeah.
They wouldn't. But Notre Dame's not going to give that up. They want the whole pie.
Yeah.
Not just the NBC, but the college football playoff. They were going to BCS games all those years, Ben. They were keeping the whole payout.
Right.
When Utah went to the Sugar Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl, they had to split. They create even shares that they have to split through the entire league, but Utah got 2 that year. That was their bonus. They get 2 shares of the money.
Yeah.
Notre Dame keeps the whole thing.
Yeah.
They're not going to join a league, so they're not going to join the Big Ten, and they're certainly not going to join the SEC. And you can say, well, the SEC would have Notre Dame in a second. Well, who owns the SEC?
Right.
That mouse that was just squawking.
They're not going to, again, bend over backwards
The Notre Dame
to allow Notre Dame to keep all their money.
Notre Dame isn't playing in a bowl game because they don't want to give ESPN a dang dime.
Yeah.
So they're not going to join the SEC. I don't think they're going to join the Pac-12.
No.
I don't think they're going to join the Mountain West. The Sun Belt's getting into the playoff this year. Maybe is the Sun Belt a good basketball league?
And again, we only kind of brushed over it yesterday, but it's already written into the contracts that if Notre Dame is in the top 12 next year, they're guaranteed a spot in the playoff. And if it's top
theory,
14 and it moves up, they have to boot a team to put Notre Dame in, and Notre Dame feels confident that they can consistently be in that top 12 or 14. So, yes, they would essentially be carving off a big piece of their own pie to join a conference.
But if they join the Big 12 and everything but football, they join the best basketball league in the country.
They do.
And I'm guessing the other sports they're not too bad at either. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense to me. If the relationship fractures.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, get over it, Notre Dame. Good heavens. You can't understand that the ACC has to lobby for its schools? Now, it might have been a little far, Ben. Did you know that they basically did a 2-day loop of the Notre Dame-Miami game on the ACC network?
I believe it.
They did. They did for 2 days. They played that game
it's very
straight.
Funny.
That might have been a little far.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame is bent that all the talking heads on ESPN are shilling for the SEC. And Alabama in particular. They're bent about that too, and they should be. Kirk Herbstreit justifying including Alabama because the SEC title game should not count against Alabama, and then 10 minutes later saying, well, yeah, it should against BYU is rich.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be interesting to see where this goes.
It's rich.
Yeah.
That's just it's a fraudulent organization. Mm-hmm. And it's hilarious to me that Notre Dame is just now realizing that. Yeah. Because they've been on the good end of it.
Yeah, they benefit from
forever.
it. Yeah, they benefited from it.
Manti Te'o went to the national championship game.
Yeah.
That Notre Dame team sucked.
Yeah, they did.
All right. What's next?
BYU Hoops in the national spotlight tonight, taking on Clemson in the Jimmy V Men's Classic.
BYU's hovered around top 10 They lost their game against UConn, which was obviously their chance to maybe punch their ticket to be a top 3 or 4 team right now. Everyone's going to lose. Purdue just got smoked by Iowa State. So the Big 12, we know, is an extremely good conference. Houston's very good. Arizona's the number 1 seed in the country right now, or the number 1 ranked team in the country. So BYU hanging around where they are right now is good. And then, yes, Jimmy V Classic's one of these big games that a lot of people watch. And the NBA is having a quiet night right now because they're into the NBA Cup games. There's no football tonight, obviously. So this is a chance for BYU to draw some eyeballs, especially with the interest in A.J. DeBonsa, and get a big victory.
BYU's problem is depth, right? That's going to be their issue, is they can't sub because it goes south quick every time they pull somebody off the floor.
Yeah.
Not as much an issue in college as it is in the NBA.
You only play 40 minutes. Games are pretty short.
You're only playing twice a week.
Yeah, and there's a lot of breaks in the action. So,
and honestly, I would guess in this new era of college sports that we all love so much, that this is going to be the case with most college basketball teams. And hear me out. I mean, in the NBA, we've seen this happen basically where there is no middle class. This is going to be the way in NIL.
now,
Teams are going to spend all of their money on 2 to 3 players, and then the rest are going to be playing for ham sandwiches.
Utes fans would caution you about not trusting your bench when you need it in the second half of a huge game. And Rick Majerus learned that the hard way. But you're exactly right that you're going to have guys throughout the tournament that are playing 38 minutes a night.
Yeah, because
you're going to have to steal spots. You're going to have 6-man rotation.
The only teams that will have a bench are teams like Creighton, who have decided to equally distribute all of
don't
their,
have top-end
their
talent.
budget. Yeah, they don't have top guys. They've done it quite on purpose. I think it's an interesting philosophy to see if it succeeds, but you don't create a hierarchy in your locker room. Everybody's treated the same, and you hope you can get more players there. But you get what I'm saying. Like, if you're a backup point guard for BYU, well, let's not keep it local. If you're a backup point guard for Louisville, and they're spending all of their money on 4 guys, let's say, and you're good enough to be the backup point guard at Louisville, you're good enough to make a lot of money at Marquette.
Yes, absolutely about it. Yes.
So you're not going to go to Louisville. You're going to go to Marquette because Louisville is only paying their backup point guard $15 an hour.
Right. Curious, I'm trying to look at the minute distribution for BYU right now. And yeah, they've got 6 guys playing 19 or more minutes, half the game or more. And then it drops off significantly. And, that includes Keba Keita, who's only averaging 19 minutes a game, and that'll obviously go up as the season progresses. But, yeah, it's not a lot of depth beyond that. And then you're right. They've got 6 guys averaging 7 points or more, and then it drops to 3 or less. So, yes, they do not have guy 8, 9, or 10 on the roster.
So BYU's got to hope for health. So, I'm sure it'd be great to beat Clemson, but hope they come out healthy. That's the most important thing because probably can't suffer too many injuries and be competitive for the Big 12 title.
Yep.
Not to be a downer, but it is the best basketball league in the country.
Yep.
And you're going to have to be healthy with your main guys, and they're going to have to play a lot.
The nice thing is, regardless of what happens, you can probably, as long as you maintain a solid winning percentage in the Big 12 and have the name value that you have, even if you don't beat a Houston or you don't beat an Iowa State or you don't beat an Arizona, you're a 3 seed because the Big 12 has that type of respect.
Well, but that's why I'm saying is to be alive to compete for the Big 12 title,
yeah,
which is a steep standard, obviously. All right, what's next?
Number 3, Isaac Wilson announced yesterday that he will be entering the transfer portal.
I have no idea why he came back last year.
It was surprising that he came back last year, considering it was a system that doesn't benefit any of the stuff that he does. And as soon as you saw Bird Ficklin get out there and move the ball as well as he did within that system, you could see the writing on the wall that Isaac Wilson wasn't going to play. Now, I do think it was nice of Utah to redshirt him. Now, it's not exactly charity. They didn't want to play him because they had a better backup. But I'll be curious where he ends up. I'm not sure he's a shoo-in for, Utah State or something of that, a team of that sort.
That's not why I said I have no idea why he came back in the first place. It had nothing to do with second string, third string, or any of that crap. If I got thrown under the bus for an entire bad year, I'm out. What's his legacy at Utah?
Yeah, one of the worst recruits they've had. One of the biggest recruiting whiffs they've ever had.
What's his recruit like on the field? Everybody thinks Isaac, oh, that guy stinks.
Yeah.
That guy stunk it up. Coach Witt would have, had 6 more wins on his career total if it weren't for that bozo. I'd be out for sure. I'd go get a fresh start somewhere. I'm shocked he came back.
I'm with you. Good for him, whatever money he was able to make last year at Utah. Didn't have to play a whole lot. And yeah, I'll be really curious where he goes. I'm curious if he even stays in state.
I'd be shocked if he made any money last year.
As the backup, I bet somebody paid him a little bit.
As the third string?
I don't think anyone knew he was going to be the third
Well, remember,
string.
they were saying he was the backup until like midway through the season.
Oh, he was the backup until Bird Ficklin was on the field, and they were like, that's not
Even
Isaac
when
Wilson.
Bird Ficklin was on the field, they were like, oh, we're still going to redshirt Bird.
Yeah.
Isaac Wilson is the backup.
Yeah. If there was a long-term injury to Devin Dampier, they thought they lied. I don't know. They said Isaac Wilson would get reps. And what, did we see him in one game this year?
I honestly don't remember.
I think we're assuming.
Snaps.
I think that we're assuming that small schools and down on the depth chart guys are making way more money than.
I don't think he's making a ton.
I think
now, other than he may have signed a contract when he was leaving high school to go to Utah, that may have been for multiple years.
There are Mountain West schools that are paying no money.
Mm-hmm.
That aren't paying anybody.
One game this year, one appearance.
So if Utah's paying their third string quarterback, honestly, well. If they're paying their second string quarterback a lot, they're foolish. But if they're paying their third string anything, then that was a bad decision.
Very well could have been, yeah.
All right, stay tuned. We've got more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Some breaking NFL quarterback news. The Colts are signing Phillip Rivers. Yes, you heard that right. And no, you didn't go back in time to 2007. Phillip Rivers.
Who's been out since COVID?
At least.
Is that the best option? Is that really the best option?
No, the Colts signed Phil.
Right, and he retired?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago.
Played?
Yeah, when they were going through
It was the 2020 season, yeah.
And they signed old Phil. And they brought him in for a workout. Phillip Rivers, literally a grandfather, just signed with the Colts.
Too bad the Browns didn't ever waive Shedeur Sanders, because you could have had him. Now he's playing great. The Cleveland Browns. But, yeah, insane. Truly bizarre.
Well, he tore up your Titans. I don't know if most everybody plays great against the Titans, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in person. I feel bad for the Colts. I'm not a huge Colts fan in general, but I do feel bad. I thought the Daniel Jones story was actually one of the funnier stories in the NFL this year, more because of what it said about the Giants and Brian Daboll than it did about the Colts. But for them to be down 3 quarterbacks and having to go to Old Man River is also an equally interesting or bizarre wrinkle that certainly nobody had on the bingo card this year.
In the NFL last night, the Chargers in overtime beat the Eagles. Eagles and Jalen Hurts are terrible, but it's not like the Chargers were great.
They're all both 8-4, so it's a team. I was watching the game with my fiance, and she's like, "Are the Chargers good?" I'm like, "You just can't ever believe in them. You can't. Whatever their record says,
they're still the
it's
Chargers.
Fake, and you're going to be disappointed, and they're going to lose first round of the playoffs if they make it."
But Laura Rutledge is the sideline reporter for the Mouse, and she was going to interview Justin Herbert on the field after the game, and this happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to celebrate with my team.
No, I know, but can we just talk to you really fast? What was it like to watch the interception there that sealed this game for you guys to get this win?
Yeah, the defense played incredible. You know, they came up with so
All
many
right.
big stuff.
So he's walking away. He's like fleeing her. And he says, I want to go celebrate with my team. And then she's like,
You're the starting quarterback of the team who just won.
Minutes? Yeah. And then he stopped and talked to her. I've interviewed Justin Herbert a couple of times, and I was impressed with him and his persona.
It's pretty delightful.
Both times. Very nice. Like small town, like legit from Eugene.
Yeah.
Walked on at Oregon because he was a townie. And kind of had that persona. And I'm not prepared to dismiss that entirely, other than, like, listen, I feel so bad for Laura Rutledge because I've been there in similar circumstances where you're just like, I'm just doing my job. What is she going to go away? You know, you're hiding from me because you know that I have a job to do. You're paid zillions of dollars because we have access to you and platform, and this is all part of how it works. Quit your boo-hooing for 10 seconds and just give me a comment. It's not like she's being pushy or like, get out of my way. This is what they do.
Two things that surprised me about this. One of them I'll bring up second because that's how numbers work. But that Laura Rutledge has to go and do this still herself. And it is something I tell every young person. I've told Christian, I've told everyone who's come and worked for us that, I've had some hand in trying to explaining how the business works. No one ever gives you a trophy and says, congratulations, you've made it. Like Laura Rutledge is the sideline reporter for ESPN on Monday night, and ESPN says, yeah, you got to go track him down by
Laura,
yourself.
Go bird dog the quarterback. Yeah.
They don't have a handler or somebody who goes and grabs the starting quarterback and brings them over, and it's organized. No, you got to still go hustle. So, big credit to her that
shout out to
she
her.
had to go find it. That is funny, but that is a reminder that that's always the level, no matter, how high you make it in this business. You still have to go chase it yourself. Quite literally chase the story yourself to get it. And then B, why were the Chargers treating this like they just won the Super Bowl? What's his name? Harbaugh said he credits this game. He says this day's as good as any of the 7 that his children were born. Why was this such a big game?
Harbaugh is crazy. I kind of understand the celebration a little bit. You beat the defending champs in overtime.
Yeah.
The way it happens.
And
you know what I mean?
the Chargers have always been not losers, but phony.
Like the funny part of the like Sunday Outta Gaines moment for the Jazz is the Jazz were bad enough that year that Sunday Outta Gaines was playing.
Yes.
And they celebrated like they just won the title. It's because of the way that you do it.
And Herbo's playing with a broken hand.
He is, yeah.
You can still stop and say, really proud of our team today.
Yeah.
Beat the defending champs. Super excited. Now, can I go celebrate with my teammates? It's not hard.
I'm with you.
It's not.
Yeah, I'm not discounting him because historically he seems like he's been a very good guy and, participated in interviews when he's had to. And then he still gave her a very good answer. So he did buy in and acted for the TV.
But Laura, what the unspoken with the, hey, can I please just get a minute? The unspoken there is, hey, I've got an EP who's going to fire me.
Yeah.
Unless you stop.
And you're right. The reason why you make, what does he make, $40 million a year, is because ESPN pays an absurd amount of money to get the rights to broadcast Monday Night Football. Exclusively. That's the only game on ESPN. They pay, it's got to be $1 billion deal to get Monday Night Football, and you benefit from that. Because the collective bargaining agreement you sign is the money brought in by the TV deal.
You're just talking about hard dollars and cents. What about the exposure? What about the fact that there are 1 million Justin Herbert fans in this country specifically because they televise and interview your product?
Yes. And it's part of it. Plus, it's what you play for, right? You play to have those days. You beat the Eagles in overtime on Monday Night Football. You get to talk about it. I get it. Good. I'm not really trying to hammer Justin Herbert here or the entitled athlete. I don't think that's necessarily what this is about. But I was surprised that A, she had to find him, and B, that the Chargers are treating it this way.
I just feel bad for Laura.
Yeah. She did a good job. Good for her.
Honestly, the Chargers are terrible. They're a terrible franchise. I'm sure they're empowering Jim Harbaugh to be his worst self, because Jim Harbaugh is a psycho. Mm-hmm. He is legit, like mentally out there.
He is out there.
Out there. I won't tell it now, but his interaction with Frank Beamer getting ready for a bowl game, maybe the craziest / funniest thing.
I don't know this story.
Oh, I'll tell you off the air. It's not worth it. We're over. All right, stay tuned. More next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's that? Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. It is a Tuesday. That means it's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We're hooking you up with a pair of tickets to go see the Jazz and the Lakers Thursday, December 18th at the Delta Center, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE. Real quick, Ben, this might be a nominee for Bozo of the Week. Let me Let me give you this real quick. You ready?
Yep.
Are you familiar with Quentin Jammer,
Yes.
the NFL corner?
Yes.
Out of the blue, and this is going back way. This was yesterday, 7:22 yesterday. Nothing led up to it. I mean, maybe he was watching the game or something. But Quentin Jammer tweets out, "True story.
Okay.
In 2011, I played completely S-faced drunk in at least 8 games." Now that led everybody. Let everybody to look up exactly how he played in 2011.
Yeah, right.
And his stats, and even pulled out some highlights. Look at this one, Ben. You'll like this one. In a game against Buffalo, you'll see Quentin there gets beat and then almost falls over. They kind of jogs after him. Guy making a big play, and then he falls on his face.
Down. Yep. Giving it half effort at least.
So the reason that this seems like a complete own goal, I don't know what he was trying to accomplish. Was he trying to say that he was better drunk than the people playing now?
Which I don't believe.
Was he just drunk then and decided to have confession time?
Yeah. Or is this a guy who was like, man, I had a real problem? Was this a warning? I didn't see this story.
But it led to all these retweets of everybody just clowning him. I mean, if anything, he brought a ratio upon himself that was probably not necessary.
And you're right, it was just random, right? This was
Just
not
out of the
like
blue.
Not sitting in a podcast and being like, yeah, man, I went through it in my NFL career. How
No.
did I deal with my stress or whatever?
No, he wasn't responding to anything. He didn't retweet anything. Just out of the blue, cold, true story. In 2011, I played completely drunk in at least 8 games.
He said he was going through a divorce that year, and that led to the drinking.
I honestly don't care.
Yeah,
I
right.
actually
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
care
yeah.
that he was drunk. That makes no difference to me. I didn't pay him.
Yeah, right.
I just wonder why he's doing this to himself. Ben, what was the worst thing you did in 9th grade or junior high?
Oh.
Just an example of, I don't know, so did you spray paint a house
if
or
I
something?
out of nowhere was like, I toilet papered this guy's house in
Ben's
8th
like-
grade. Just out of nowhere on Twitter.
Ben, I spray painted a whole building when I was 14. You know, like,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
who, why?
Yeah,
Why?
you remember the stink bomb in Sea Hall? That was me. No, I don't remember that. And by the way, I didn't do that. But
I
right.
had a buddy who threw a stink bomb into the private room at a bar where Lindsay Lohan was.
Oh, no.
Because he thought it was funny.
It is funny.
But he has not. He didn't.
He's not copying
He
to it
didn't
on
tweet it
Twitter.
out yesterday. Like, guess what I did? That actually might be kind of funny. That might get him some run. Anywho, there you
He
go.
was funny, though, in some of his responses. Some guy tweeted at him and said, no picks that year, and tweets out his box score. He says, I wasn't a pick getter, bro. What do you want me to tell you? Not his thing.
That's a defense.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's a defense.
Can we talk a little bit more about the influx of cash coming to the University of Utah? I know it's not the most exciting story. I do think it's interesting, and we've heard a little bit now from Taylor Randall and what it's going to. And, we'll continue to learn more about this. The part of it I hate, though, well, I mean, it's not like I was expecting it to be anything different, was Taylor Randall. This is according to Josh Furlong's Twitter handle, or his Twitter profile, J4KSL, says, President Taylor Randall said, we're excited about this new innovation in Utah athletics. This will give our institution the upside it needs to thrive in the revenue sharing and NIL area. He says area. I wonder if that was era. He says pure capital. He says they weren't interested in pure capital. We were interested in a partner. And the millions of dollars flooding athletics will be to have a partner who, according to them, they are putting up the most risk, according to Taylor Randall. Otro, this company investing, is putting up the risk more so than Utah. Do I believe that? Not necessarily. Do I understand why the president would say that? Yes. Why I think it's interesting, again, is the first thing out of your mouth the NIL? This just goes to paying the players. That's all this is. This is all about making sure that the players on the field aren't compensated fairly, but that you're in the bidding war to be able to get some of these players. That's the only reason this exists. That's the only area or only desire to get into bed with Otro Capital or whatever this investment company is. It's just a further sign of, yes, how far away we've gotten from what the goal was of college athletics at one point, not terribly long ago.
Here's Guy Holiday on Twitter sending out a tweet about a half an hour ago.
Guy Holiday, a former receivers coach at BYU and Utah.
Yeah. Both of them. And he's still active on social media. He's a good follow if you don't follow Coach Holiday. He was a good interview when he was here.
Yeah,
Not a surprise he's a good follow. He says, people may get upset, but I was told the Utes were not competitive in NIL overall. Trust me on this because I don't put out rumors. The tide has changed. Things going to be fun in the state of Utah. You may not want BYU and Utah in your house, but they coming to kick MFing door in.
Good to hear from you.
No, I think he's probably accurate. But what are you willing to do that? What are you willing to? I mean, if that is the ultimate goal of the university and its athletic department, is to somehow compete with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben, okay. And again, if Ben took out a $10 million loan today, you could probably start your own newspaper.
Yeah.
And try and compete with KSL Sports.
Yeah. Well,
is that the best decision for you?
No, again.
Is that, but maybe it's a stupid comparison, but I mean, at what cost to pretend you're something you're not? At what cost are you willing to go to? And I don't buy the risk thing, but frankly, risk should not be coming into the conversation. That should not be a thing. It should not be a topic. But if the university is going to sell itself out to pretend that it's Ohio State, well, I guess good luck. But conceptually, I said it at the beginning of the show. It's inappropriate. I don't find this appropriate in any way, shape, or form. But good on you.
The other part of me that is very skeptical about some of this or has wondered about what are some of the behind-the-scenes conversations that were had going into this, I do wonder how much coaches said, it would be nice if we had a business that filtered all this money into us or a investment company, private equity, versus having to speak with the donors directly. Because the donors speaking to me directly want to see X player play. They want to see this guy on the field, or they want to know about injury reports, or they want to know X, Y, and Z. And if now everything gets filtered through Otro Capital, if now they have to deal with some of that, and I'm just free to do my job again, as opposed to saying, hey, pillow company, this is why this player didn't play.
But they're not turning away that pillow company. That's not changing. They're not giving any of this money back
No,
or any
not.
money
No,
back.
Of course
They're
not.
This is not saving anyone money. That's why I brought it up in how much is Crimson Club membership going down? It's not. Tickets aren't going down. None of it's going down. The only purpose of this money is to compete, and by admission, is to compete financially with people that have more resources.
Yeah. So I wonder if, do you think donors now, boosters, have to go through Otro Capital to get to Utah?
No.
You think they can sidestep that and still have their direct line?
Yes. Mark Harlan is the CEO of this company.
He is, yeah. I'll be curious if they try and push people towards Otro Capital, which is actually silly because then there you've got a middleman that's taking a percentage. If you have a donor who wants to just give you $10 million scot-free without having to give any back to Otro Capital, just take that money. So maybe that doesn't solve that problem
I don't think it solves any problem other than they don't have the cash that other schools do. I hope, for their sake, this is not an overly emotional reaction to BYU all of a sudden having the upper hand.
And that's the other aspect of it and Christian and I talked about this while you were gone last week, which is, maybe you haven't, but Christian and I have both been involved in like stupid eBay battles where you're trying to win an auction in an eBay whatever, and you end up, I'll put another dollar on. And all of a sudden you're spending so much money on a product that if you had said at the beginning of the product you weren't actually interested in buying for $70, but because, I've already invested 63, what's 65? If I already invested 65, what's 67? Are you just looking down the street at the other bidder, which is BYU, and saying, well, they've got a $7 million player. They've got a basketball player that's worth $7 million. We've got to have a basketball player that's worth $8 million, just to show that we're staying competitive versus are we actually spending this money the best way? I think that's going to be a natural instinct that you're going to have to fight or prove that it's worth doing. We don't know if this is going to be worth it for
If it
BYU investing in their basketball program to this
Listen,
point.
if it is an overly emotional reaction to BYU having the upper hand, I will say the same thing I did when BYU went independent because they had an overly emotional reaction to Utah going to the Pac-12. Don't make a bad decision for a stupid reason. And I think it was a bad decision to go independent for BYU. Now it's worked out in the end, but it left a decade of desert in BYU football, and being in a league would have been better. I stick to that opinion still to this day. I don't think the Big 12 would have passed on BYU because they were a Mountain West school.
No, the Big 12 got desperate and needed good schools, and BYU's a good school.
Right. So I don't think one thing led to another. I don't think it was a smart thing for BYU to go independent, and it was because they had an emotional reaction to Utah leaving. It was. That's why they did it. That's why they did the timing of what they did. They wanted to have this PR thing where being independent was just as good as the Pac-12, and it was not. And I don't think that was a good decision. I don't think this is a good decision for Utah, if especially they're having an overly emotional reaction to BYU all of a sudden having the upper hand. Figure it out. That would be my opinion. But I don't know. I'm not an accountant for Utah, so maybe this just seems like a really desperate move to be something that you're not.
And it may have been a Hail Mary. I mean, if what Guy Holiday said is that Utah was not going to be able to compete at all, and if there is going to be a line that is drawn of the teams that have money and the teams that don't, and you're going to get left behind.
But compete with who?
That's a very good question.
Because you can't tell me that Utah can't come up with NIL to match Iowa State.
And
or give me another mid-level, or even somebody like Arizona State.
Yeah, Kansas State. Yeah, whatever.
Kansas State.
Yeah.
Okay, so Texas Tech has one guy, and you're trying to keep up with that? BYU has an entire tech industry that's feeding into it. You're trying to keep up with that? Or figure out a different way to do it. Figure out a way to be
what you are.
What you are, yes, what you are. Which is what, by the way, ironically enough, which is what Utah has been good at since the early 90s.
Yeah.
In basketball and football. Basketball, a lesser extent now. But Rick Majerus had the program up there with Kentucky and Arizona and Duke and all these teams when they were in the WAC.
Yeah. Christian, you said you had a tweet.
Going back to what you guys were talking about with the boosters and where their money would go, this is from Ross Dellinger's initial thread. He said Utah is inviting its most prominent boosters to purchase a stake in the new private athletics company.
Right, but that's not everybody.
No, and but that is their higher ones.
But that's not going through the capital company. They're selling those shares to the boosters.
Yes. And then ideally the Eccleses or the Garfs or the trucking company can get their money back, or some money back or whatever in the long term.
But Steve, the construction company owner who wants to contribute NIL, is not buying a share of this thing. He's still contributing to NIL.
One of my big questions for BYU last week during the Penn State negotiations and bringing Kalani back and having this influx of $10 to whatever $15 million a year into the program is how much does the expectation have to change now? And, the interesting thing that the Cougars were doing is they were putting the resources of a Big 10 team into a Big 12 school. Can you expect to see similar results? And now Utah's doing that same thing. Utah is putting in NIL to the point of competing with the best of the best. So that has to be the expectation now, right? And how quickly does that have to be the expectation? If you're getting a 9-figure influx of money, which Taylor Randall is they're not willing to talk about any square numbers here, which, the $500 million is very flashy.
Said.
Does it end up being $40 million? I have no idea. But yeah, how do the expectations at Utah now have to change when you get this type of money coming in? Third place in the Big 12 is not good enough. If you're competing financially with Texas Tech, you've been as good as Texas Tech historically. You've been better than Texas Tech over the last 25 years. You've been better than BYU over the last 25 years. Up until the last couple of seasons when BYU got all this money, they were able to outdo Utah for the last few years, in part because the NIL came to pass, and BYU is ripe to take advantage of that. Now, if Utah has that same money, do they have to jump those schools again? Does that have to be the expectation every season?
How much of let's say it is $500 million, what percentage of that do you think is going to female athletes at Utah?
Let's see. What's 1% of $500 million? $5 million.
I'd say it's less.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
again,
this being a for-profit entity is totally out of the purview of Title IX. So everybody comfortable with that too? Is this an end around so they can screw over the female swimmer?
Right. Beth Lanier is, announced her retirement. She's a legendary volleyball coach for the University of Utah. Lane Elliott's doing color and analysis for the team right now on their broadcasts.
So how much
people who built the Utah Athletics, the Red Rocks, obviously, I'm not trying to neglect them either. People who built this athletic program into what it is, this department into what it is, yeah, do they see any of this money? Probably not. I know there's some talk in here about it's going to be good for everybody. We'll see. We'll see how much money actually gets dispersed there. I would imagine not much.
Let's see. Our friend 801 Sports tweets in. He says Utah did not do this because of BYU. Because BYU all of a sudden got a lot of money last week. This has been in the making for a while.
It has been.
Yeah, it has been. Absolutely.
Yeah, they didn't. Yes, this is not a response to Kalani Sitake.
No, but Witt's borderline talked about it in the past. No, but BYU did not get the upper hand on Utah yesterday either.
No.
BYU got the upper hand on Utah the day that Brett Kavanaugh handed down that ruling from the Supreme Court.
Yeah. And then it's been steady that BYU has surpassed Utah in basically every major athletic, certainly the revenue sports. So,
I don't know. I also didn't say Utah did have an emotional reaction to BYU having the upper hand. I just put it out. I mean, it's a famous trope in the media, right? I'm just asking questions.
Yeah. No, you hope that's not what it is.
I hoped that was not what it is because I think that BYU made a mistake making a decision for that reason, and I don't know how successful this will be for Utah. In the next couple of years, probably sure, because you have cash on hand, but where does it go from there? And conceptually, I'm just not comfortable with it. I'm just not.
And look, the truth is it's good for our jobs.
Sure.
If AJ DeBonza is good for your and my job. He just is. BYU being in the college football playoff or being near the college football playoff because they're willing to pay players to get themselves there is good for us. Same with Utah. It's good for us. I don't think that's lost on us at all, but I do think we can take a big picture step back and say, what does this mean overall for the sport? And that there are players involved. There are people involved with this. And as I've said, I'm not willing to write it off entirely. I do suspect this is where it's going. Just because that's where the landscape is evolving doesn't mean it's a good thing. But I do think Utah is trying to make sure that they're staying competitive, which if you're a fan, I think that's a good thing for you. So if you're a fan and you're having a negative reaction to what I'm saying or what Jake is saying, I think that's actually totally understandable as well. You want your team to compete. And if your investment is I sit at home and I watch the games and I want to be happy on Saturday because they win, that's fine. I don't have any problem if that's your level of involvement. But beyond that, I do wonder if any of this is sustainable and if this is just creating sort of financial beast that nobody can actually tame.
But just not to lecture that fan that you were just talking about, but it's that mentality that has led us to this current whatever college sports is I just want my team to win on Saturday and I don't care about anything else is exactly the problem.
Which we've done a little more than boil the frog. This has happened relatively quickly compared to what it looked like a few years ago. But yes, if you had said this was the product today 8 years ago and you tried to change it overnight, I think there'd be a real distaste for what the sport is right now. But because we've done it incrementally, people are accepting of it, but that doesn't mean it's good.
I'll give you a slow example. Academics used to matter. Mm-hmm. It did. But then everybody started saying, well, I don't care about academics. I just want my team to win. And if people say that over and over again for enough years, guess what happened? Academics don't matter.
Don't matter. What's the grade point average? Not GPA, but what's the other one that they used to talk about?
Whatever the graduation rate, but it's what is it? It's graduate. It's like MPR or something like that.
We talked to a college football coach, and he said that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
he said it doesn't matter anymore. Unfortunately, and he was bemoaning it. He was sad about it because that was a big thing. Getting kids to graduate college was a good thing. And look, giving kids lots of money is not the worst thing in the world. It's not like they're taking money from these kids and not giving them an opportunity to get an education. Conceivably, they could do both. I don't know if that's how you can expect 20-year-olds to respond, 19-year-olds to respond to money that's being spent seemingly just to spend money. It seems like a lot of this money is being spent only because other people are doing it.
I just think other things have value. Cardale Jones says, I'm not here to play school.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be about school.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing.
School's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And people got an education and benefited their lives greatly.
It's actually good for the world, too,
It's
not
good
just
for
the
everyone.
individual.
Yeah. But yeah, Cardale Jones not here to play school. Okay, good times.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could have been some sort of mechanical engineer or something and changed the world.
You would imagine that 5 years from now, if he hasn't said it already, Cardale will say, I wish I'd taken a different approach to that.
All right, stay tuned. Cole Bagley's going to join us next. We're going to talk some Mammoth hockey. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I can't hear this song without thinking of, like, the best radio promotion stunt ever. There was a radio station in town that was going to switch formats back in the early 90s, and they were going to, like, an oldies station or whatever. And in the 2 weeks leading up to the new format, they discovered that this song was the most played song of all time. And so they just played this song 24/7 for 2 straight weeks.
Oh. Okay.
Which was funny. If you ever... Oh, no. It was Louie Louie, not Wooly Bully.
Okay.
Dang, wrong song. My bad.
Okay.
All right, that anecdote wasn't as good. All right, let's talk some Mammoth hockey. We also want to remind you about RGS Exteriors. Join Hanson Scotty coming up tomorrow at RGS from noon to 3, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. He covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com. He's our friend Cole Bagley with us on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Cole?
How much are you guys?
Doing well. Another loss last night for a team that, I don't want to say spiraling. They've been able to stop the bleeding at points, but I guess the fear is even when they have a 7-0 win and it feels like the ship is righted, it immediately hits another iceberg. So what do you make of what's happening right now with the Mammoth?
Yeah, I think when you look at those 2 wins that they had last week over the Ducks and over Vancouver, Vancouver's the worst team in the National Hockey League, and the Ducks were playing their 3rd and 4th string goaltenders. So, I don't think it's unfair to say that this team is spiraling, and it's kind of what it looks like on the ice. I think I've counted 5 or 6 broken sticks over the last week or so. During games as guys are getting frustrated, and I think what stands out to me, especially after last night, is last night wasn't a coaching problem. During morning skate, we talked with head coach Andre Tourney, and he told us exactly how the Kings were going to attack them, which was they were going to dominate the neutral zone, and they were going to be very opportunistic, and that's exactly how they beat the Mammoth last night. And, we talked to Keller after the game, and he even alluded to the fact that, look, the coaches had us prepared. We just didn't do what they asked us to do. We didn't execute properly. So, yeah, it seems interesting. It's a lot of obviously some high highs to begin the year, but there's been a lot of low lows recently.
What do we know about Logan Cooley's injury, and how much is that going to impact things?
Yeah, it's tough. Starting next season, he's the highest paid player on the roster. I'd say he's probably the most dynamic player on this roster. Their second-line center. He's obviously young, but he showed, spurts of absolute brilliance this season with a hat trick and then a 4-goal game. So it's tough to lose a player like that. In terms of his injury, out indefinitely is tough. I don't know if you guys saw, the injury that happened that took place. He ran into the post at a really high speed, and his leg just bent a really awkward way. That of my own speculation, leads me to believe that this is more, something in terms of the ligaments as opposed to a bone, especially with them saying out indefinitely, right? If it was a broken bone, we probably would have had a time period of 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. Whereas right now, basically what they're saying is, look, he's out indefinitely, which means we don't know, the extremity of the injury. So, hopefully in the next week or two, we get some more clarity as they continue to try and figure things out for him. But, right now he's out. And they don't know when he's going to be back. So they've got to figure things out quickly, and they need other players to start stepping up.
Lawson Krause also got banged up last night. What happened there?
Yeah, it was really strange. He came back out, and I believe he played the rest of the game. But he was just forechecking, chasing the puck, went around the net, and then I don't know if he caught an edge or what exactly happened, but his knee kind of buckled, and then he didn't put any weight on it, went straight to the locker room. I believe that was during the second period, but he came out. And played more minutes. So I would just.
Cole Bagley with us here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Cole, if the Mammoth are going to reach expectations, what do you think is missing? What aren't they doing?
Well, first of all, and again, I go back to the conversation we had with Keller last night. They're not playing offense the right way. If you watch the successful teams, if you look at what successful hockey is right now, it's generating traffic, it's getting bodies to the net, it's moving the goaltender side to side. And it's playing bully-style hockey. I mean, that's why the Florida Panthers have won back-to-back cups. That team has arguably bested two of the most skilled players, if not the most skilled player to ever play the game in Connor McDavid 2 years in a row because they've just bullied their way to a Stanley Cup. And, Utah needs to do more of that. That's not what they're doing right now. And like I said, Keller explained to us last night, how do you find consistent offense? And he said, look, we're trying to do too much. We're not looking at our first options. That you need a guy in front of the net, you need a guy in the slot. That's how you generate consistent offense. And so I think they need to play more structurally sound. They need to kind of go back to the basics and do what works. But at the same time, there's a lot of players on this team who their production is down from a season ago. Clayton Keller, I'm going to give him a pass just based on what he's gone through recently. But he put up 90 points a season ago. He's on track for about 70. Jack McBain, who signed a $4.25 million AAV contract, he's only got a handful of points. I want to say 4 or 5. He finished last season with almost 30. So he's down in terms of production. And then Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley just haven't quite taken the step that I think a lot of people were expecting. 2 years ago, they both put up about 40 points. They came into last season, they both reached about 60. And so the anticipation was, look, they're going to take another 20-point jump. Well, that just hasn't happened. And obviously goaltending is down pretty significantly as compared to last season. And so Utah may be looking at some external solutions. This may be a situation where, I know for a fact that Bill Armstrong has told this team, the expectation is playoffs or bust. We will not settle for anything less. And the way that they're playing right now, that's not going to take place. So they might need to start looking at the trade market and seeing if they can acquire somebody, who's going to help them right the ship.
Cole, we appreciate all of your work. Thank you very much, bud.
Thanks, Cole.
Thanks, gentlemen.
There you go. Cole Bagley covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com.
Funny dynamic happening with the Mammoth here, which is I'm sure Bill Armstrong, Andre Tyranny, who have been doing this for 5+ years now, have this desire to get this team to the playoffs. They've been going through this rebuild dating back to Arizona for a long time. In Utah here, it's not felt that long. They had a fun first season. I think it was pretty successful. They didn't make the playoffs, but I thought they were above 500, had a pretty fun team. And this year, I think they probably could have coasted on that, but they did set the bar of making the playoffs, and they went out and they made some aggressive trades, and they paid some guys in the offseason. And that did set that bar, and now if they fall short of it, I think there's going to be a kind of funny reaction to it, maybe more so internally than externally. I wonder if they're putting undue pressure on themselves, which, I do. I like when organizations pressure themselves to succeed as opposed to just taking advantage of, we're a new team or we're in a new city or whatever, something silly like we got new jerseys and that's enough for people, a new team name. But I do wonder if it's not I wonder if it's incongruent with how the fan base feels or expects.
All right, we'll wrap up the show. Coming up next, Ben, I think I've got a foolproof way to make millions of dollars.
Oh, I love that idea.
I don't know if
Christian, you in?
I don't know if I should share it on the radio,
probably.
But I think I've got an idea.
Let's do it.
Stay tuned. Wrapping up next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Two niggas on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Jake and Ben want to remind you about Minky Couture. Get the best blankets and gifts ever. Save 50% this holiday season with promo code ZONE50. Shop online at minkycouture.com or visit any of their 6 locations. Minky Couture. It is a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Let's give away some tickets. Go ahead, Christian.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the 3. He hits. Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. You're going to go see the Jazz and the Lakers on December 18th at the Delta Center. 801-575-ZONE. All right, Ben. I think we can make millions off this.
All right.
Well, this is my money-making scheme. And I'm going to go to a story, and then I'll explain, all right? So this, a woman who's 72 years old, her name is Mary Carol McDonnell. Okay. Have you ever heard of the McDonnell airline manufacturer? I think it merged to be McDonnell Douglas, McDonnell
of course.
Airline Fortune. All right. Well, Mary Carol McDonnell went into a bunch of banks, said, give me some money. Mm-hmm. Said, I've got an $80 million trust fund from the McDonnell Airline Fortune. Various banks gave her $30 million.
Wow, good for her.
Turns out that her name, yes, is Mary Carol McDonnell, but not that McDonnell.
Not that one.
So she defrauded $30 million from various banks just by walking in and saying, you heard of the McDonnell Airplane Company?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that's me. Now give me some dough.
Is there a real Mary Carol McDonnell that's an heir in the family?
I don't think
or
so.
She just used straight the last name?
Straight McDonnell.
Wow,
You just straight use the last name, steals $30 million, and then absconds to Dubai. And she is currently on the FBI's top 10 most wanted.
Okay.
But $30 million.
I'm into it.
Lives in. So here's what I'm thinking, Ben. The Scott Sunglass Company has got to be worth a dang fortune, right?
Yeah.
Or even I could go with the Scott Tissue Paper Company.
Okay.
But I like sunglasses more. So I think I'm going to go the sunglass direction. They also make ski poles.
Okay. I'm trying to find up.
But do you think if I marched into Zions Bank right now and said, "Hey, my name is Jake Scott,
wearing Scott sunglasses,
heir to the Scott Sunglass fortune. I have a $100 million trust fund." Do you think they'd give me millions of dollars?
I bet if you went to enough banks, maybe.
How, in all seriousness, how does a serious bank not do any sort of diligence on somebody who just comes in and claims that they're an heir to the McDonnell airplane fortune? And she did $30 million.
Yeah, I don't want to dismiss that people around the world and the country and in your day-to-day interactions are actually very good at their jobs. But there are a lot of people who are also very lousy at their jobs.
Just rubber stamping millions of dollars out the door?
Oh, she says she's the McDonnell company. I looked up the McDonnell company. She's got X, Y, and Z papers. I don't know where they come from, but we'll give her some money. I also like that at 72, there's a chance she kind of gets away with this. She's lived the best part of her life.
She's in Dubai. I don't think she's going to come back.
Yeah, she's going to go hide somewhere. So
I'm sure she picked Dubai because they can't get her out of Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you should try it. You should try and defraud a bunch of banks. Yeah.
I don't know. Is there an Esparza company out there?
Esparza Tires in where are you from?
Brigham City.
Brigham City.
I'm the heir to the $10 Esparza tire.
Well, you guys are making a bunch of money. You're ripping Scotty off on the tires. So, yeah, you guys are doing just fine.
I mean, Anderson, there's got to be plenty of
I'm
Anderson
looking it up,
fortunes,
and it's
fortunes
bizarrely
out there.
not. There's not like a, big box store called Anderson's or anything. I'm trying to figure out how I would get in on this. Probably have to be personnel.
Oh, there's got to be like an Anderson in Hollywood that is worth $1 zillion.
I would think so. I thought this situation was going to be a woman who had the same name, went and just said, I'm Mary Carol or whatever her name is, McDonald, and you Google Mary Carol McDonald, there's just not a lot of information about her other than she's worth X billion dollars. And they're like, yeah.
No, this is just some gal who's like, my last name's McDonald. There's a McDonald fortune. Hey.
Give me a share.
Give me some money.
I'll pay you back.
What a wild story.
Yeah, good for her. Crafty.
The Scott Sunglass fortune.
I wonder if those companies are actually worth any money. Sunglasses and things like that. Some are.
Well, Maui
Jim probably does fine.
Well, they sold, though. They're like Oakley or something.
Yeah, Oakley probably does okay. But some of those companies got to be just taking out credit card debt over and over. Not McDonald, not Mary. She's doing great.
Oh, well, like what's the flamingo one you can get at REI, and you think they're just like taping it together?
Some of them got to be. Maybe not that one specifically. I'm not trying to.
You're not trying
get
to
myself in trouble
to downplay anybody there.
Yeah, there's got to be some businesses that are just faking it.
Hanson, Scotty G are coming up next. We'll
Thanks,
talk to you
Christian.
tomorrow on Jake and Ben 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.